Ladies and gentlemen, pat yourself on the back and take a deep breath. Make no mistake in realizing that you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live life with more passion and purpose. Jared, how are we doing this morning?
Shoot, after that intro, I'm ready to go, man.
Let's do
I hope
it.
you guys like that. I love just watching Ali do the intro. And the reason I love this is this whole movement, this thing we're on, started from a chance encounter. You came to the gym, you wanted to get better at certain aspects of your life. I bought a gym because I wanted to develop my life. Right? Two people kind of on the same mission as far as growth, going about it different ways. We met, we had a relationship there. We took a leap and went into a small group mentorship together. We had natural chemistry. We did a chance lunch, and I pitched him on an idea of throwing a podcast. So when I hear you do that intro, I'm like, yeah, man, this is coming together. So I appreciate you guys being here again. I appreciate everybody listening to us, and I'm excited for where we go.
Yeah, likewise. Life is amazing, works in mysterious ways. So happy that we're here, and it's been a great benefit for us, just as we hope as it is for you, for doing the homework. That's one of the biggest differentiators of our podcast. Every episode, we're going to have action items to live life with more purpose. So speaking of action items, how was your homework last week, Jared? Did you take that 5 love languages test?
Bro, I'm pretty sure my wife paid you to set that thing up. I can't tell you. We've been married. September will be 20 years. And I can't tell you how many times I've been hammered by her about my love language and not paying attention to her. So, Andrea, if you're listening, I hope you didn't pay Ali too much. I haven't checked the bank account lately, but I'm pretty sure you're responsible for this. So I did my homework, and I still suck at it. I'm going to be perfectly honest, within the marriage. So the love languages, man, thanks a lot, Ali. I appreciate it. My wife is big on quality times and words of affirmation, right? And if you follow me at all, you know what I do. I'm always on the go, and I neglect the quality time. Like, I'm just not good at it, and I got to get better at it. And that's one of the reasons I made some of these shifts in my life, is to spend more time with her. And then the words of affirmation. I forget to leave cards. I text her, and I think it's like the most loving text in the world. She's like, it's a text. If you wrote it in a card, it would have meant something. I'm like, damn it, I dropped the ball again. On the flip side, for me, I'm very physical, right? And I've always teased her our whole existence that, like, understand what you married into. I'm gonna be chasing you around that nursing home. Like, this is a long time plan. Like, this is going away. And the biggest thing I understand from love languages, and what I struggle with, is realizing that in order to get yours met, you need to meet theirs as well. And that's been a constant balance for me. And I'll say it on the podcast. I'll continue to work on it. My wife is the most patient woman in the world, because for 20 years, I don't think I've gotten it right. And keep working on it. So I hope she didn't bribe you for this week's topic too. But what about you, Ali? How you doing with the love languages?
Doing well. So my top 2 primary love languages that are right even on the test is physical touch and acts of service. So even outside of romantic, I'm really like, hey, what's up, man? Like, I like grabbing people, and even I feel a little weird even with a male friend. Like, if I'm giving him a handshake, I always bring it in for a hug. And when somebody kind of has resistance, I'm like, nah, come here. I want to hug you. I want to touch you. Like I really need that. And of course, the physical touch in an intimate relationship, everything too. That's a big one for me. And then acts of service too. Like, it'll mean a lot more to me if my woman's washing the dishes and doing just, acts of service, as opposed to like a little gift here and there. But I do think it is important to realize that even though these are your or someone else's primary love languages, you can't forget about the other ones. You still have to give quality time. You still have to give gifts, and you still need to give words of affirmation. But just realize that the top 2 are, at least for me, your primary love languages are the most important, especially with your intimate partner. So did the homework, again, onpurpose.official@gmail.com. Let us know your answers.
Real quick before we move on from the love languages, I think some of our tougher guys right? Because we're fighters in life, we're fighters in the cage, we're big into mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu, and I believe it has a specific role in our lives. But I think sometimes we put up the bravado and the exterior, and we neglect actually reflecting on what it is that really makes us feel fulfilled. And remember, team, that relationship you have with yourself is the most important. I can't expect my wife to fulfill all my needs if I don't know what they are, if I don't know what I'm looking for. And I think that's more than just marriage. I think that's in your business relationships, your personal relationships. What are you bringing to the table? What are you looking to get out of it? And are you approaching everything to take or to give? And I think, to me, I find the best harmony in my relationships when I look at it from what can I give that they're looking for, what can I help fulfill them with. It usually comes back to double fold in return.
Amen. Love that. Good point, Jared. Gotta know what you're willing to give and what you can give. Great point. Today, we have a very exciting podcast. Jared and I were actually talking at a Muay Thai tournament this past Sunday about psychedelics. I was telling him about a mushroom experience I had, and he was like, nah, man, like, I'll never do mushrooms, none of that, not into the psychedelics. So I was like, man, these podcasts that we've had so far, we've been pretty similar ideologies, and this is a very big contrast. So what we're going to cover today are supplements and drugs, from vitamins to psychedelics and everything in between. So let's see where it goes. Jared, let me ask by starting you, what supplements and substances do you currently use in your life, or maybe have been a part of your life? So tell us a little bit about supplements and substances.
Yeah, I'm big in supplements. I've always been big in trying to push my body to that next level. And the reality is police work's a very physical job. Like, you have to be prepared to fight for your life at a minute's notice. That's just the truth. So all the supplementation, the workouts, the jiu-jitsu, everything I did was to make myself harder for somebody to kill. Period. And people may not like to hear that, but that's the truth. Every time I left my house to go to my shifts, Andrea and the kids counted on me coming home in the same shape. Right? They didn't want dad disabled. They didn't want dad damaged. They want dad, fully functional dad. So all my workouts, all my training was designed to make me more likely to return home than not, period. So I've always looked at my supplements as, what advantage does it give me? Does it make me stronger? Am I faster? Does it keep me flexible? So I've never been a big recreational user of anything.
What supplements would you use in your regimen?
So supplements, I've always been big on like protein. I've tried creatine in the past. I've tried some of the synthetic testosterone boost as I've gotten older. Right now I use a lot of essential oils to kind of natural, anti-inflammatories, natural antibiotics. I try to stay out of the doctor's office. So basically like performance, like stuff that's legal, right? I mean, we could get into steroids and whether they should be legal or not. I have different opinions on that, but I've always tried to stay in that sports performance type realm because I've always viewed my life as an athletic performance. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm always trying to stay in shape and be able to perform when I need to. So for me, it's been mostly dietary stuff, proteins. Trying to think what else I took. Tried Andro back when it was legal, before that went off the market. Holy smokes.
Was that like a test booster thing?
It was what Mark McGuire was on.
Okay.
And I took that, and as a matter of fact, it was right here in Old Town. I remember I tried it, and you had to cycle on, I think it was like 4 or 5 days before you start feeling effects. And I was walking down the streets of Old Town. It was just my regular life doing something, and I'm walking, I start feeling my heart race, and I just start pouring sweat, and I'm like, what is going on here? Jeez. And then I did some more research and realized I probably shouldn't have been taking that. What about you?
What about substances for you? Alcohol. Do you drink occasionally?
Very rare.
I know no cannabis, right?
No.
Any other substances?
No. I tried marijuana when I was younger, and to be honest with you guys, my family has a long history of alcohol issues, and I've seen it cause a lot of dysfunction in relationships, and I've seen it cause a lot of hurt and harmfulness. And when I was younger, I probably drank way more than I should, especially during my military time, because it's kind of just what you did. You worked and then you were off and you had nothing to do, so you drank a lot. And having kids and having a marriage that was very important to me, and then a professional career that I knew, just like I said earlier, I knew going to work, my life was on the line. I couldn't be hungover. I couldn't be less than my best, because that was a disservice to my kids and to my wife and to everybody. And to the citizens, if you called me, you needed me at my best. You couldn't have Jared hungover trying to provide you service. So really the profession kind of helped me clean up my life and put me on the path where I was always looking to perform.
Any prescription drugs?
No, I don't do. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I had a prescription. My wife, thankfully, really looks out for our health. She really is at the cutting edge of what are some alternative treatments we can do. So I bet prescription-wise, I haven't had a prescription in probably 2 years.
Nice. What type of prescription did you use to have?
Boy, that's a good question. It'd have to be some kind of antibiotic or something. I haven't had like a prescription painkiller.
Oh,
ever.
okay.
Yeah,
just for like.
Yeah. I've had honestly, I can't remember the last time I took a painkiller. That opioid crisis scares the hell out of me right now.
Yeah.
So if I could stay clear of that, I'm all about it. What about you, Ali?
Well,
obviously, you're on the other side of a lot of this.
Yeah, definitely use a few more substances. As you guys know, I'm in the cannabis industry. B&L is the best vaporizer company on the planet. Shameless plug real quick. But as far as supplements, I like to say that I put in premium fuel into my body, that premium unleaded. I eat very healthy. I take a multivitamin every day. I have a green supplement for extra vegetables that I throw in my smoothies. Maca powder is another supplement I've been using lately. Branched chain amino acids, I usually drink them intro workout. I also use protein, whey protein. Haven't done any creatine in a while, but I've definitely used that. And I actually have also used synthetic testosterone boosters. I actually did a men's physique competition back in 2015 and took some pro hormones. And in college too, I actually took some pro hormones. And I was that low percentage that actually developed what's called a little bit of gynecomastia. A little more on that on my Instagram, at Ali Abuslam. I did the surgery, everything, but that sucked. So that was really what changed my whole mentality. I'm like, I don't need to take any type of testosterone boosters, whatever. I went and got a blood panel test and found that I have really high testosterone levels naturally already. So I was like, I felt like an idiot afterwards, but that was a good lesson. That kind of covers the bases on on supplements. As far as substances, heavy cannabis user, almost daily. It's kind of like my change of state. Sometimes I'll use it pre-workout in the morning, or pre-workout even sometimes at trials, but very little. And sometimes in the evenings just to kind of unwind. We all have it's called the endocannabinoid system. We have cannabinoid receptors in our body, and that's a big reason why the industry is booming, because so many people are realizing it's not just a recreational drug to get stoned. It's helping a lot of people with the opioid crisis, with Parkinson's, with pain, arthritis, so many things, to where I truly believe, the cannabis plant is absolutely fantastic. When I first used it in high school, it was more like, holy shit, I'm cracking up, I'm eating with my friends, this thing's amazing. But then later on, I was like, man, this helps with anxiety, this helps with my hangover, this helps with all of the above. So I'm definitely a big advocate of cannabis. People use it how they will. It's to each his own, right? As far as substances, I've never had a prescription in my life besides Adderall. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Adderall, because I first got that prescription when I was in my oil and gas career as a petroleum landman and in-house landman on the computer a lot, negotiating oil and gas leases. And I was putting in 60 plus hours a week easily every week. And this was really tedious work, a lot of attorney work, analyzing documents and things like that. And I had tried it a little bit in college. I had a couple of roommates who had it. And one thing that I can definitely testify about Adderall is it definitely helped me focus. So I finally went to a doctor, and even though I'm kind of 50-50 about, is there really ADD and ADHD? Like, is this really the solution? Because they ask me a lot of questions that I'm like, well, doesn't everyone have that? Like, do you misplace your wallet and keys a lot? And I'm like, yeah, all the time. Do you have trouble staying focused for more than 15 minutes? And I felt it was pretty general questions, but I was diagnosed with ADHD and I got a prescription. However, I found that when I first got that prescription about 3 years ago, I was abusing it a little bit too much. I was using it to the point to where it was really taking away from my personal relationships, because I would be in this like really focused state. And then when I would go home to my girlfriend at the time and family members and everything, I would just be so drained from just using all my focus and not really been able to connect with them. So I took a while off, and I just had my business partner resign, and just a few months ago, with things getting crazy, I actually got the other a prescription again. So I currently have one, and I do use it as part of my regimen, but I have the prescribed dose, and the doctor is very, very aware of how it is, it's a controlled substance. So you have to be very careful with it. Every check-in, checks my weight, checks everything. But for me, that has been a little bit of a boost to execute on specifically the tedious tasks. When it comes to something like networking and talking to people, don't need it. But if I'm gonna be on the computer for 8 hours straight, probably on that back end of the 8 hours, if I need to push it to 12, I might take an Adderall in there.
And I think what you said there, Ollie, is probably one of the biggest differences between us. Is I'm from a generation where nobody knew what ADHD was. No, we didn't know, right? You were the kid that couldn't pay attention. You were hyperactive. You needed to be busy. We didn't go to doctors for that. There was no prescriptions for that. There was no diagnosis for that. You just kind of figured it out. And I'll tell you, for me, it really hit home. My son had some learning disabilities when he was little. And the first thing the doctor said was, oh, he's got ADHD, let's put him on these medicines. And I will tell you, I'm so thankful for my wife, because she refused. She's like, no, we're not putting him on medicine. And she researched what causes this. What's our foods, right? It's the dyes in our food, it's the chemical in our food, it's the convenience of all the prepackaged stuff that's loaded up with stuff your body doesn't know what to do with. So I remember we came home and my wife's like, he's not going on these medicines. Like, we're gonna fix this ourselves first, and then we'll go to that last. Whereas I think a lot of people go right to that and don't look at, okay, what is the root cause? So she went through our house and threw out everything that had red dye, everything that was processed sugar, cleaned him up, and now he's gonna graduate high school next year. He's 18, never once been on medication for that. And I'm not saying there's not some kids that need it, but I think sometimes it's a crutch for us. Right? Like, I'm struggling with this. Oh, there's got to be something wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with you. You got to do something different maybe. Maybe you can't eat what your buddy eats. Maybe you're having too much sugar. You're not having enough salt, right? Whatever. So I think that's one of the big differences is kids in my generation, you had to figure it out or you worked through it. Whereas I think what I've seen is a lot of the younger kids now is just quick to get on that prescription.
Yeah,
which leads to our abuse.
Yeah, right? Yeah, and I completely agree. I can only imagine if I was given that stuff at a younger age. And I remember a buddy of mine in high school, real hyper kid, hilarious, and he would tell us, I'm on my ADHD medication. I'd see him at lunch and be like, dude, what's wrong with you? And he would just be a lot more, a lot quieter, just not as high energy. And I'm so grateful that I never had that during school. I really had to push through those barriers. But frankly, Jared, I average about 12 hours a day. Like I told you, I'm going to be a cannabis industry tycoon. I know the work that needs to go into that. So it's not like I'm popping Adderall every day. But if I'm going to be working on that back end and I need that extra push, that is how I supplement. And I don't take it like I'm an empty stomach and do all that. I'm still eating healthy. I'm still working out. And it is part of a very healthy regimen. But I will say that I do hope, once I have sustainable processes in place and once I don't have to put 12 to 16 hours a day towards the grind, that I can just kind of put that off, because I know that that's not something that I want part of my regimen forever.
Yeah, I think you got to look at the long-term effects. And for me, if I know I have that kind of day, I'm going to have extra coffee. And people could say, well, coffee's not good for you either, right? And there's gives and takes, don't get me wrong. But one of the big things I'm an advocate for is anything I'm ingesting in my body, is it helping me reach goals, or is it masking like hurt and pain?
Right.
You know, and that's what I look at, and I see a lot of our younger people that are falling to addiction. They're masking pain, right? They're masking something they don't want. They're hiding from something they don't want to address, and that's really, to me, the big point that we need to be looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you have specific goals. If this helps you, then that's good. But I think also, I agree, one of your goals should be, okay, I want to develop my mind and my body to the point I don't need no help. Right? I know that if I have 12 hours of work, man, it's up to me. I got to grind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll make up on sleep some other place. And I think we're just in a time period right now where we talked about this before. Everyone wants everything right now, right? It's got to be as fast as we can, and we got to realize there's ebbs and flows to that.
100%. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think it's important to realize, for me, I always do a cleanse. Sometimes it'll be randomly, no, I'm not going to take any type of substance for a week, whether that's cannabis, Adderall, alcohol, do a month cleanse. I identify with Islam, the Muslim religion, the most. I consider myself spiritual, not necessarily religious, because I grew up with Islam and Catholicism, more Christianity, but Catholicism. But there is one thing that I participate in every year, and it's Ramadan. And I fast for the whole month from sunrise to sundown, and I get a complete cleanse of the body, cleanse out everything. And I think that's a really important thing too, to where if you are, even coffee, you know, anything that causes dopamine, if you are, it's really important, maybe not a full month and not a full fast, but getting off of substances here and there. So I want to jump to alcohol real quick, because alcohol is definitely something that I enjoy, and I'll say in moderation, but not really, because I don't like to drink. I don't really like to have like a couple of drinks. I like to drink to get drunk, right? If I'm going to drink and waste those calories, I like to ingest it to the point where I'm having a good time. My alter ego, Boozy B, comes out like, hey, I'm ready to party, dance, like really enjoy that. But I know that a lot of ideologies and a lot of my past, some people will be like, oh, you like getting hammered? That doesn't make sense with a lot of things that align with what you do. So I want to talk a little bit about that and share that. Not like blackout drunk or I'm being an idiot, but if I'm going out, I like to have 5+ drinks and, you know, get pretty tipsy and have a good time. What do you think about that? And how do you manage your drinking?
You know, that's interesting. And I agree, man. We're much different age-wise. And in my 20s, I was right there with you. And I enjoyed a good time as much as the next person, and I had my share of good times. I had my share of wake up in the morning and think, what the hell did I just do? Why would I have done that? But for me now, I'm in a different place where I know my kids are looking at me. And one of the things I've done is if we have some wine or some beer in the house, I'll let my teenagers have a beer with us. Because I want them to experience alcohol. Like, it's not this taboo thing where you gotta sneak it, and then just like you said, when you go out, you're gonna have 50 drinks. Like, you can have a beer with dinner and be fine. You don't need to push that envelope. Alcohol has been terrible for my family, man. I'm not gonna mix words here. It's been awful. I've seen good people never reach their potential because of alcohol. I've seen great people fall off the face of the earth because of alcohol. So I'm very conscientious that it just doesn't have much of a place for me. I can go have a beer. I love Coronas. Shameless plug if anybody's listening. In the summertime, it's like tacos after yard work, but I'll have one, maybe two, and I'm good. And I have this weird thing that goes in my mind is, just like I told you guys earlier, I use my supplementation for athletic performance to fight, to survive life and to be the best I can. And I'm telling you, man, it's weird, but if I have 2 drinks, I immediately start thinking I need to work out. And I immediately like, oh, wait a second, man, I just set myself back. And then my mind starts racing, and then it's hard for me to be social and relaxed because I'm like, oh, I'm not as good as I could have been because I just went backwards. Yeah. And so that's kind of how I base it. Do you think, Ali, that your consumption of alcohol, or your approach to alcohol, or to any of the substances, has progressed over the course of your lifetime, changed a little bit, or has it remained pretty consistent? Because you went to a pretty good party school, Texas Tech's a party school. right? Even
Wreck
though-
'em.
There you go. Now that you have such big goals, has that changed anything?
Oh yeah, dramatically decreased from the Texas Tech days. But that's why when I do drink, because it is rare, that's why I like to turn it up a little bit and have a good time, because it's not, it's maybe a couple times a month, 2 to 3 times a month, where I'll go out, have some drinks, and to me, like, alcohol doesn't taste good. Sometimes a beer, when you're thirsty, like, it kind of quenches that thirst, but most alcohol isn't a delicious drink. So when I drink, it's pretty lean and mean. Vodka soda with a little bit of lime, almost 0 calories, and I'm drinking them to catch a buzz, to have a good time. So it definitely has decreased, and I really like to manage it. It's not a habit, and I'm like you, to where the next day I earn that drinking, right? I got to sweat it out. I hit the cardio, so I definitely do things to offset that.
And I like your point there, and I think that's really what ties into the more goals you set for yourself in life, the less consumption you're probably going to have.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I think that's really probably, when I look back at the times I drank the heaviest, it's because I had no goals. And I was in the military, and we had schedules, and we deployed for a while, then we came home. When you came home, you either trained or you partied, and it was
Right.
just this cycle. I didn't have goals to get promoted. I knew I wasn't making a career out of the military. I knew in 4 years I'm getting out and I'm going to go do something else in life. So I felt a little more lost, which then alcohol is easy to consume, right? And it's easy to put yourself in that place. The older I've gotten, the more focused I've gotten. Okay, I want to make this much money. I need this business to be doing this. I need to develop myself here. I just don't find the time for it. And it's not that I'm against it so much, but I've seen what it can do. I've seen the bad side of it, and I see where I want to go, and I just realize they're not really compatible.
Yeah.
What do you think on that as far as your goals? Because you talked about mentoring people and your circle of 5. How does the substances play into your ability to lead those groups?
I really don't think that it has much of an effect, and to each his own. Like, I think that's an awesome reason why we're doing this podcast, and I think it's really important to try and practice non-judgment. Right, we're being really vulnerable here, talking about it. And who knows? Maybe some people are gonna be like, "Oh, this dude takes Adderall," and have a different perception, or this dude smokes weed almost every day, have a different perception. I think, again, back to the most important relationship with yourself, you really have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, is this adding value to my life or taking away? And for me, I think sometimes you do need that occasional escape. Whether it's a vacation, whether it's taking time off work, whether it's a night getting hammered with your friends, whatever you can control. But there's some people that realize alcohol can't be a part of my life. I can't control that. Personally, I do think that I have control over the substances that I use. If someone were, hey, you can't drink, or took away the Adderall or whatever, I know that I would still be able to progress and move forward, and I have control over that. So that's what it is. That's what it is for me. I wanted to move on to cannabis specifically, because that's something that I'm very passionate about. I'm in the industry, it's my career. So I was curious about, you had said you tried it in your earlier years. Yeah. Can you tell us about your experience with cannabis, and then now your opinions about it?
Yeah, I mean, I was in college, I was an athlete, and I had a couple buddies on the team that did it all the time. I was about to go into the military, and I was like, okay, once I'm in the military, this is not an option. So I tried it with them.
What was it like the first time?
Honestly, man, for me, I was an athlete, so my body wasn't used to having other substances in it. You know what I mean? So I remember getting like sick to my stomach. And
really?
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, marijuana's come so far, because you got to remember, this is the early 90s. So for us to use it, we knew we were doing something bad. Like, you had to meet somebody in an alley, you didn't know them, they didn't know you just trusted what was in the bag was legitimate. Now, what you guys consume is
that premium,
highly cultivated. We know how much sun it's getting, how much water it's getting. We know what's in it. There's more regulation, right? So there's more trust that this is all I'm getting. We didn't have it, so I had no idea what was in it. And I guess that's probably why I probably wouldn't have done it more back in the time, is I just didn't trust people enough, right? Especially, like, you knew you were doing something bad, so the only other people that were doing stuff bad probably weren't worth your trust. So I was always skeptical of what was actually in it. And man, alcohol was so much easier. You know, and for us, and I grew up in DC, right outside of DC, so crack epidemic was at its peak then. And I had a lot of friends in high school that fell victim to that.
Yeah.
Lost their lives, went to prison forever. So drugs were like scary.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I know people debate whether marijuana is a gateway drug or not, but I'll tell you this, from my experience, none of the people I lost to crack started by jumping straight to crack.
Mm-hmm.
They started with alcohol. When being drunk wasn't enough, or like, wait a second, I can't, you know, I'm falling, you know, just the side effects of alcohol, then they switched to marijuana. And then eventually they progressed. Like, I never met anybody that just jumped right to crack.
Right.
And you guys are pretty young. I don't know if you remember much about crack, but it just swept inner city America on the East Coast. It was causing so much chaos and dysfunction. And like I said, I had friends that never made it out of high school because they got killed by it. And so drugs, I think, to me were like, ooh, wait a second. Now, if I smoke this, I might end up like that.
Right.
But I can drink these beers, and I see people that are alcoholics performing okay in life. So I think it just had more of a taboo feel to it than what today. You know, obviously it's legal in certain states. It's medicinally recognized in certain areas. So I think it's a little easier to consume and be good in your conscience versus I had a lot of fear towards it.
Yeah. So when you say crack, for some of our listeners, so for me, being born in the early 91, today when I hear the word crack, I think is that like blow, cocaine, white powder,
crack cocaine.
You're snorting up your nose.
No, so they were smoking it in pipes
Okay.
back in the
Smoking
day.
crack.
There was that instant high.
Gotcha.
It was like, from what I was told, I never did it, it was the highest of highs, but it was super brief, like quick. So then they
do it again.
you got to go again, you got one out of money, so now I rob this store, I murder this family, I steal here. New Jack City, if you guys don't know what the crack epidemic's like, watch that movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it with Wesley Snipes.
I know what movie you're talking about. I've never seen it.
So you gotta watch it.
I've heard a lot about it.
That portrays the New York City, inner city crack epidemic very well. I mean, they were literally zombies.
Wow.
Because all day they were just trying to figure out how to get high again. It was, honestly, it was one of the saddest things I've ever seen. I had a friend, Russell Hurd, who I went through middle school with, into high school with, and he died as a junior in high school because he got so swept up into the crack world.
Oh wow!
And it doesn't care who you are, man. And it was bad, and it scared the shit out of me. So I was like, dude, if that's what happens to you, I'm not doing drugs.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thoughts on that. But I know it's part of your daily life. So like, how do you? So I guess here's my question. Not crack, marijuana. So marijuana is part of your daily life. So let me ask you though, how do you balance the line from using it to support what you're trying to do versus using it to hide from what you need to do? How do you balance that line? Because to me, being older, looking back, that's what I see is too many people, they're high all the time, they're not getting shit done.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
Well, it affects people differently. You know, some people, like you, I've never had an experience where I felt sick or nauseous, ever smoking cannabis. And for me, smoking cannabis kind of does the opposite. It doesn't make me high from things, it almost amplifies it. It almost makes me think about it even more in a deeper way. And I definitely, it's not part of my day at all. Now I like to smoke hemp flower, leafy, best hemp flower on the planet, by the way, shameless plug, which is kind of a new thing, very low THC, but we're learning so much more about the plant to where we can really dial in what effect we want, to where the nomenclature of cannabis is not now becoming the effect, right? Energy strains, sleep strains, and so on and so forth to get that desired effect. So for me, they say the nose knows. There's a terpene called pinene. Terpenes are, how can I describe a terpene? So terpenes are everywhere. They're elements of plants, of foods. Terpene, or pinene is a specific terpene that you find in pine sol. You know, that real piney smell almost gives you that energetic, uplifting effect. I really like high pinene strains. They kind of give me a little uplifting effect too. And it's very rarely that I'm trying to smoke to like zonk myself out.
So it's the opposite of your consumption of alcohol then, right? Like you said, you consume alcohol to get intoxicated, but you're not smoking enough marijuana to be intoxicated.
I would say a little bit intoxicated, kind of
But not to the same degree.
No, it's different degree. So with alcohol, I like it because it lowers my inhibitions even more, right? So
Which you doesn't have many of them.
right. So I love that because I take it to a whole nother level of even more confidence, even louder. I'll really say what's on my mind even to that next level. So that's what I enjoy about alcohol. With cannabis, it's more of it kind of balances things out after a long day, can give me a change of state in the way I think. I really like the creative aspects of cannabis for me. It gives me different thoughts, and frankly, I'm still experimenting. That's what's so exciting about the industry, is because even the leading scientists in the world over in Israel, we're still learning about the full spectrum of what are called cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. The two most famous cannabinoids that we know of are THC and CBD. However, there's like 100 something cannabinoids in the plant. Some of them kill cancer. Some of them are extremely pain relieving. There's so many, and we're still learning about it. So for me, I love it. I love the industry, and my experience with cannabis has been very different from yours. To where the first time I smoked it, I did have a lot of reservations because I knew it was bad. I knew like I shouldn't have been doing it. But once I got high, I could not stop laughing. I mean, cracking up, crying hysterically with my two goofy ass friends, just doing the stupidest shit. I mean, it was hilarious, and we had this just like euphoric moment together, just cracking up, eating. Like we were cracking up at how we were cutting pieces of cake, and to me, it was just like, my God, like this is so fun, And then again, from there, I learned that it had other uses too, like smoke a little bit if I'm hungover in the morning, or if I need help sleeping at night, whatever. So the cannabis plant is so vast, especially now with the technology of how certain strains are grown or how we extract exactly what we want. You can smoke, a lot of fighters smoking CBD now, just pure CBD. That's from the cannabis plant. Technically that is coming from the cannabis plant, even though it doesn't have THC that gets you intoxicated.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I think just the generational, you can see the generational difference just in how you term it, right? You call it a cannabis plant, right? My generation, what do we call it? Weed, right?
Well, because I'm a cannabis professional.
But it's the same, right? Like to us, it was literally a weed that just randomly grew in the ditch somewhere.
Yeah.
For you guys, it's a cannabis plant. It has a certain amount of light and sunshine and water and this strain and that strain. And I'll be honest, I don't understand any of it, but here's what I will tell you. I don't think it's all bad, because it's starting to get people to look at better ways of handling medical issues without going on prescriptions.
Yep.
Right? And it's opening the door, because here's what I tell you. If a marijuana plant offers all this, what other plants offer health benefits? Which is actually, if you think about going full circle back to where we came from. Back in the days before modern medicine, you used plants and teas and herbs and roots and oils to fix your ailments.
Yeah.
All man did was synthetically create.
Right.
And now we have addictions.
Yep.
So I don't mind marijuana. I think as a parent, it provides unique challenges to make sure you're talking to your kids about it earlier and more frequently and setting some different parameters. But I like that it's opening up our mind to, hey, what other natural solutions can we do to take care of our health versus going on pills?
Right.
And don't get me wrong, modern medicine, if you're watching, I'm not against you. I think you have a role, but you are not the entirety of our health. Right? Mm-hmm. There's fitness, diet, natural solutions, and modern medicine. And when we tie them all together, we get our best us.
Yeah. Well, let's bring it back to some different types of plants, and I'm really curious to jump into this.
Oh boy.
For example, there's a big push in Denver right now to legalize psilocybin, aka the primary ingredient in mushrooms. There's people microdosing psilocybin and I think acid as well in Silicon Valley for more creative thinking and things like that. And I have a little bit of experience with some psychedelics. Jared, I know that you said you don't. So what is your opinion with things that really alter your state? You know, mushrooms, acid, DMT.
You know, it's interesting. I think this will relates back to how we see the world. Your familiarity with those substances come in social settings, right? With maybe some friends you did it with, maybe some experimentation, maybe somebody you look up to like Aubrey Marcus, who does it to open his mind, which is fine, right? That's certainly possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. As a policeman for 21 years, I've seen the other sides of what drugs do to people. Right. The abandoned children, the living in filth, the putting everything except your drugs to the back burner. I can't tell you how many methamphetamine houses I've been in where porn is just everywhere and the kids have no food. And so I've seen the dark side of the use of drugs. And I'm not saying there's not some good sides to it. I don't know many of them, to be honest with you, because I haven't been around it. But for me, it really ties back to, I know people look up to me. My whole life has gotten to this point. I've been a leader in my community, a leader in my family, the gym. It just doesn't have a role for me. I feel creative enough with a good cup of coffee and some Darius Rucker in my headphones.
Yeah.
And maybe am I missing out? Maybe. But for where I'm at in life, I'm good with that. So that's kind of my thing. As I go back to, I've seen a lot of the bad side of what drugs do to our world. Yeah. And I just don't honestly choose to participate in it.
Yeah, and much respect for that. You know, it's, again, and you always say this too, is being aware and identifying what you think and your experience with that. And I'm sure if I had that experience, I'd probably be the same way. You know, hell nah, fuck that. Like I do not want to do psychedelics. And I'll be honest, I was very straight edge in high school. It was after I was done with sports as a senior to where I had, you know, smoked, because I was so committed to my wrestling and football that I didn't want to do drugs or anything to hinder that. And I didn't try any psychedelics or anything in college. It actually was after college. The first thing I experimented with was mushrooms. And because I had heard that was, you know, kind of the easy thing to start, and I had really learned or heard that there was a lot of benefits to that, opening your mind, expanding your mind, and experience different things. So I'll talk about, I've had a few experiences, about 3 different experiences with mushrooms. And they were all very sensory, things that kind of move in your language. And like you're saying, you like control. It's definitely, you lose a little bit of control, and I'm like, oh man, what's going on? I'll tell one story real quick just because I really enjoy it. The first time I ever did mushrooms, it was like, oh, I wanted to just run and touch nature, and I really felt connected with the universe. You know, when people talk about how we're all one and everything's connected, my experience with mushrooms helped me really feel that. Like I remember looking at the grass and trees and thinking that there was just like this connection to where I was really connected to everything. And there was a time, I'm not going to say who, members went camping out here, and it was all dudes, and we went out there and we all took some mushrooms. We have video, actually. Maybe one day we'll release it. I don't know. But we had just the most amazing experience, and everyone was just like walking around in their own world. And I remember there was this one time, it was summertime, and I just dropped to my knees and was just like soaking up the sun. And in that moment, I felt as if not only was I connected, but that I had influence in everything, even like how hard the wind was blowing, the trees, everything. And it's so, I think that it opens up something in your mind to where it helps you understand some of the things going on in the world that we can't necessarily see with the naked eye, that we really have to feel. And I do believe that there are things we can do in life, like you were talking about, food, connection with people, and things that open that up on a small scale. But again, it's a plant, right? That there's these things in a plant, and I think that there may be some more research, some more studying that we need to do to see what this plant's purpose really is, how it can serve us. Because after that experience with all my Toastmasters, that shroom trip, I really was like, wow. It made me look at things differently and realize that not everything is what it is just to the human eye, right? Really kind of expand and be a little bit more creative. So I am an advocate of, I wouldn't say advocate, but I would say if you are looking to get into psychedelics, and I really don't have that much experience. I've never done acid, which is a big one, but I've seen a lot of people try and say great things about, some horrible things about. But I have tried DMT, which is kind of surprising because people are like, whoa, like, wait, you've never done this, but you've done DMT. It's kind of like that next thing. And that's because it was kind of brought to me. You know, someone that I trust came and actually, no, it wasn't someone that I trust. Someone that I trust later, like, kind of showed me how to do it, but it was a person who came to B-Nails, actually, to buy some. So a really cool guy was telling me all about his experiences and was like, I want to give you some. And I called a few people who I knew that I trust, and was like, dude, that's a sign. That's a sign to try it. That experience, Jared, I know you're rubbing your eyes and probably like, what the hell else are you talking about?
That would have been a sign for me to kick that fucker out. Kick him out the door.
So I was like, damn, okay. This experience was, and you know, you guys do your own research, of course, YouTube, other people, DMT experience, but the first experience that I had, it was quick, and it's like I laid under my desk, and I felt my soul literally leave my body, and I was going down this path, and on the sides of each path, it was just these incredible colors, shapes, geometry, and I felt this just massive energy. I mean, like godly energy on the other side of whatever this path was. And I wasn't intimidated by it. I was excited. And it was like I was going to the path, and then I came to like the doorway to that next dimension, whatever it was, and then I was like, and I started coming back, and I literally felt myself like when I came back, because it's a quick thing, it's like a 4 to 7 minute thing, and then I just like came back, and it was like holy shit. But I felt like that I came back with something, right? That was number one. The only other time I did it was a different experience, and a lot of people say that they see a figure or a spirit or whatever. I didn't see anything, but this time it wasn't a path. It was all these shapes, all these things, and I had a presence there. Something was there, and there was like these like arm things, and I was laying down, and they came and literally opened my chest, but it wasn't like gory, like I know you're thinking I'm crazy right now, but hear me out. They opened my chest, and it's like the spirits is like zzz, zzz, like making little upgrades in me, and then they close me back up, shut me down, and do like a scan, like zzz, like a scan, like aliens, whatever you want to call it. And,
that sounds awful.
Jared's face is cracking.
That sounds awful.
So when I kind of come out of it, I felt a presence. I felt a connection with something not from this physical realm. And what I gathered from it was that they gave me some minor little upgrades, some minor tweaks, but also kind of scanned me. And the message I got was, you're good. Like, you don't need to be taking this and tripping. Like, we gave you a little bit of like this experience, but right now, like, you're on the right path and you're good. And that's kind of what I got from it, and I haven't done it since. Yeah. So
it's funny to me because you're like, it's a short 4 to 7 minute trip, and I'm like, dude, I want control also. And yeah, it's I encourage the listeners, man. You know, you got to make your own decisions. I think that's the truly important thing: is don't fall to peer pressure. Don't be doing something because somebody else does it. Like, you got to make your own decisions, because ultimately you got to live with whatever outcome there is, and good or bad, like, that's gonna be your experience. So make sure you're doing what you're comfortable with, and I really implore you guys to look at the substances in your life, and are they helping you get to your goals, or are they hindering you? Are you hiding from something? And all our stories are different, right? Like, I'm pretty strict and narrow here. Ali's a little more free-flowing, but if you listen to his stories, he never consumed to hide pain. He wasn't consuming to run from something he's supposed to do. He did it out of curiosity. And even his stories, as many faces as I make listening to them, they led to more self-development, right? And like, okay, I'm on the right path, affirmation. Completely different than the person that's drinking a case of beer a day to hide a dysfunctional marriage.
Yep.
Or smoking marijuana every day in lieu of getting a job, right? Like, because you're hiding something there. And I think that's really the difference, is people that consume out of pain, out of discomfort, out of hurt, and those that consume for enjoyment and self-reflection. And I think there's lessons in that, you know, and my way may not be the right way for you, Ali's way may not be the right way for you, but in between, you find yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I think it's important for not only us, but people to talk about substances that you use, because back to Circle of Five, when you have these people, if I start abusing, you know, weed too much, if I'm getting too high, not showing up to practice, not showing up to Toastmasters, or if I'm tripping my balls off DMT all the time, and just like in this other realm, my Circle of Five is going to notice, and they're aware that, hey, have you been, you know, abusing things like that? And like Jared was saying, for me, it was more of a self-development journey, right? How can I get to that next level? It never was like, I need to escape the world and run from my fears and problems. So I do also want to reiterate that I'm not advocating this for you, just sharing your experience, and like we always do, be vulnerable, be real, be straight up. We're not saying this is right, we're not saying this is wrong, but we're talking about it, we're putting it out there. So let's get into homework for this week.
Real quick, if we could, I think this kind of ties back. It's interesting, listening to your stories made me reflect a little more. In my earlier years, when I was hitting the protein hard and all the natural legal supplements, my goal was to get to 210 pounds. For some reason, I just had this in my idea that I need to be that big. Well, my body's not meant to be that big. It's just not supposed to be. And I think I was using all that, even though they were legal substances, and they were encouraged, you could get them everywhere, to try to create a me that wasn't genuine. Right? Like externally I wanted to be 210 pounds, but why did I want that? I didn't really know. I just thought I needed to be. But what was happening, I was taking these supplements, I was working out hard, my joints were suffering, my body didn't feel good, and it was kind of through that evolution, I was like, wait a second, I'm supposed to be 180 pounds. Now, can I be really fit? Yes. Can I take supplements that help me continue that? Yes, but I don't have to be something I'm not. And I think too many times we take any of these supplements, substances, to make ourselves somebody we're not supposed to be, versus, like we've talked about, finding that relationship within ourselves. And if, you know, marijuana is part of who you are, then fine, be part of who you are, but it's part of who you are, not who you are. The same on the other side, alcohol. If it's something you do it, but it shouldn't be who you are.
Right.
And then you can say the same for your proteins and all the healthy, you know, the somewhat healthy supplements, is don't let that consume you. Like, be comfortable with who you are and use it to make you the best you, not to try to become something you're not.
Yeah, and for everything, right? Not just supplements or that. Like, just because I'm in Toastmasters doesn't mean that I'm only a Toastmaster and that's everything. Just because I train MMA doesn't mean I'm only a fighter and that's everything. Like, you balance it out, and you do you, whatever that means.
Yeah, so let's we'll see what you guys think. Please send us the comments. I want to hear what you guys think about Ali and his stories, or mine and my lack of stories. Right? Like, I'm boring as hell, maybe. I don't know. But like, hit us up. Let us know what you're thinking, and then more importantly, let us know what you're getting out of the homework.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, the three of us, like every time we come in, we're like, damn, this homework is more for us than for anybody else, because we're in the process of discovering and creating our best selves right along with you.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And did you have the homework?
Yeah. So let's look. So the homework for us is, we want to look at the products that you're consuming on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And I say products because some of you may not drink alcohol, some may not do marijuana, some may not do any of that. So then look at your foods. Look at what you're consuming. What are you doing every day that's fueling you or taking away from you? And then that's the second part, is, are they helping you? Or is it hindering you? Is it helping you reach goals and push through barriers, or is it holding you back and helping you make excuses for why things can't be done? Mm-hmm. And you know, we've worked a lot on reflecting on who we are. Now we're going to reflect on what are we consuming that's either helping us move forward or holding us back.
And then, of course, report back via email onpurpose.official@gmail.com. Send in your things again, just to reiterate. Take inventory of products, supplements, substances that you use, and be vulnerable. If you're using something that you don't tell people about, tell us. It's all confidential. We're not going to say your name here, but we'll share your story and report on how that product, substance, or supplement makes you feel.
Yeah, I agree. And if you're having trouble, let's be honest, guys. If you're struggling because you're using something too much, you're using it in place of what you should be doing, and you need some help, man, we're here, right? Reach out, let us know. This is a place where we want to grow, and that growth is going to look different for all of us. But this is a community, and it's a team that's going to push each other forward. So with that, I just want to remind you guys that life is too short for us to be living any other way than on purpose. So thank you for tuning in, and we will see you all next week.